women's wrestling is a hell of a lot more intense than men. If you get in the ring with me, then you are going to get hurt.
Fighting talk from one of Britain's top female wrestlers. Women are packing a punch in the ring. Some say aggressive sport should be left to the men.
Maybe they feel threatened by women doing that, and they should just get out of their prams.
Is it sport or showbiz? Either way, the risks of injury are high.
It would be a shame to think of that lady there with Parkinson's or dementia in later life as a result of this.
Can young fans tell the difference between fact and fantasy? Tonight, Cover Story investigates the womanly world of muscles and mascara.
Well, the actual buzz starts as soon as you put your costume on. When I slip into Sweet Saraya mode, it's like I get this energy that comes from my toes. It's the most amazing adrenaline rush. To hear that music and know that that crowd knows you're coming out, because they know that is your music. And you can hear them like screaming and shouting and clapping and cheering, and there's a few out there that are booing and hissing that hate you, and then you walk out the door and the spotlight goes on you, and you just get this feeling in your belly where if I didn't get that feeling after 12 years, I think I'd quit.
Sweet Saraya, the British ladies wrestling champion, is about to fight for the world title. The venue, a sports centre in her hometown of Norwich.
To me, it is a hell of a big deal for me because it's the pinnacle, it's the top of my career.
Her opponent, all 23 stone of her, is Klondike Kate. She's an awesome rival.
I just love wrestling. Wrestling is me and I'm wrestling. And I suppose I've got to be a little bit of an egotist to actually get in there and do what I do. But it's my life and I couldn't think of doing anything different. It's me.
Go on, Johnny, that line!
Out of the ring, Sweet Saraya is Anglia Knight, a family woman, a mother and a wife. Her husband has 3 children by a previous marriage. Julia and Ricky have 2 young children of their own.
Good set of kids, all involved with the wrestling. Nicola and Roy wrestle. Asa has wrestled. Zach's got his first major wrestling tournament on the 13th, same as me. He's actually the youngest paid wrestler on the circuit at 10 years old. Saraya, a different kettle of fish. She's very studious, very, very intelligent. She's my little university babe, and she's going to prove that wrestlers have got brains.
Okay, you ready?
Okay.
There you go.
Ricky, my husband, is like my trainer. I mean, he's my mentor. I mean, he's the one that got me into the business. He trained me. He made me what I am today.
Fun.
No, I can't.
No, go on.
He's very, very tough. You know, he knows what my limits are, and they're a darn sight higher than what I think my limits are.
8. Got 2 more. 9. 10. Well done. As Rocky says, no pain, no gain.
You know, I like to look the part. That's why I do like to get tanned up. I like to see the muscles in my arms. I like to, you know, like I've got a 6-pack and stuff, and I'm chuffed with my bod. I really am.
15, 16, 15, 16, 17. As a promoter as well, I mean, I promote wrestling as well. You have to have women wrestlers because they do put bums on seats, as the saying go. I mean, like, you can put on a show of lads and people will turn up, but they always ring up, oh, the ladies on, you know, the fans always ring up. And I think they're good for the sport. I mean, like years ago, the old lads like Jackie Paolo and people like that disagreed with women wrestling. But I think they're now a plus and a bonus to it.
Oh.
Times are changing, but Jessica Hudson is still an exception to the rule. Her PhD subject at Cambridge University is women in aggressive sports.
Society tries not to look at all at women that take part in aggressive sports. And generally you get comments from a lot of people around you asking why on earth would you want to do that?
I think the hang-ups have been with some of the rather outdated officialdom side and tongue-in-cheek there really, they're the ones that actually look at it and think, well, girls shouldn't really be boxing.
Many men want to keep this male bastion of sport as their own and keep it masculine, and they hate the idea that or maybe they feel threatened by women doing that, and they should just get out of their prams.
As soon as they turn and say what to do for a living, and I say, well, I'm a wrestler. Ooh, jelly wrestler, are you? Oh, baby, or what is it, mud? So you've got that stigma of sexuality attached to you as soon as you mention the word wrestling and the fact that you're female. And people are very small-minded to think that a woman can't go in the ring and fight like a man. When you've got the likes of the American girls going out there in bikinis and, you know, lots of, you know, like big boobs and, you know, skin straining type things, you've got to go out there and you've got to wow the crowd. So the image that you perceive and the clothes you wear are just as important as what you can do in that ring.
Some people like to see good-looking women wrestling. Some people think women wrestling's exciting to watch. Some people just come for like this sexy type value of it. There's several reasons why people like it.
There have been complaints about wrestling matches on television. TV watchdogs have commissioned research into the public's perceptions.
The men that we spoke to, right down to the boys aged 10 or 11, were actually most of them were very keen on having women wrestlers dressed in sort of skimpy outfits, and they found it sexual and titillating. But because it's a very family-orientated thing, the audience tends to be a family audience, they didn't feel there was any problem with this. It was in the same mode as you might watch women on Baywatch or pop stars and enjoy their bodies. And indeed the women said that they like looking at the muscly men in the ring as well.
Sweet Saraya has learned to turn these attitudes to her advantage.
I play up to it, any woman would. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm a prima donna and that I'm absolutely gorgeous and I've got a lovely body, but when I'm up there in that ring, it doesn't matter what you look like in normal everyday life. You're a goddess when you're in that ring.
Those women that have turned to the sport and created an entertainment sport, it's understandable because that's where the money is, and society has created that. And simply because it's so difficult for them to be taken seriously as an athlete. The money is in foxy boxing, for instance. You can understand why they've done it, but yes, I think it detracts from the sport proper.
Is wrestling a proper sport? Some say it's more of a circus, a pantomime. Julia is certainly acting when she gets into the ring.
Sweet Saraya is, she's quite a character. She's quite dominating, vicious. She's got a kind of I think it's silken sleeves. I think it's probably the best way to explain her, because she's got that demure look when she goes out there, and she's got like the very sexy, revealing sort of costume, but she's got that real bad attitude where you cross her and it doesn't matter how big you are, she'll do you.
Well, she does all the things that you shouldn't do: pull hair, punch. She doesn't release the hold when when she's told to. So she's one of the dirtiest wrestlers normally.
I don't think I would be married to Sweet Saraya, to be honest with you. She's too much of a modern woman. You know, although Julia's a modern woman, Saraya would be very dominating, I think, and would be, well, too bossy for me.
Aside from the personas the wrestlers adopt, how much of the actual fight is fact and how much is fiction?
There are certain moves that you do know what's coming next. I'm not going to sit here and try and, be a staunch, no, British wrestling's not fixed.
Fixed, to me, means you go in the change room with your opponent and you say, I'm going to beat this, I'm going to do that. And that's not the case. There is moves that we all know. It's like, if you learn to do judo, you learn to do karate, you learn to counter moves.
Wrestlers say despite the choreography and the acting, many of the injuries are very real.
When you take bumps, when you get your hair pulled, when you get your eyes gouged, it hurts. We do get very offended when people go, "Whoa, that's fake blood." Whoa, they're not really hitting each other, because we are. The blood is real. The moves are real. Everything is very real.
Whatever's real and whatever isn't real, the fighting, the training and the door-to-door promoting is hard work, especially with a family to look after.
Being a wrestler is 100% commitment. You cannot have anything else, you know, to be involved in. I mean, it's hard for me trying to juggle being a mum and a wife and everything as well. You've got to have a mind that's like really sharp and thinks about everything like 2 days in advance, because if anything messes up, you've got to always have that backup just in case. So I've always got 2 babysitters on hand just in case something happens to one of them. These bloody speed bumps, they ruin my cars.
When she's not fighting, Julia makes it a priority to give her children a sense of normality.
I think it's not a case of me juggling everything around, it's the children fitting in with my lifestyle. We do have a hell of a lot of fun. And I think if anyone asked the children, I think they'd turn around and say that their life was pretty cool.
You're a star!
There's no doubt that wrestling is in the children's blood too.
If I've got the crowd...
You get more adrenaline,
exactly.
And you get more power,
exactly.
And then you
start getting the power.
And then you just sit there, like Hulk Hogan, Mum, you get the with the fear, get the with the fear.
Back at the big fight in Norwich, Klondike Kate is giving sweet Saraya a hard time.
Klondike Kate, she's the most experienced lady wrestler in Britain, and also she's been the British champion, European champion, she's wrestled in America, Japan, she's wrestled all around the world, and also for her benefit, or against sweet Saraya, Klondike Kate's a lot heavier, like she's 22, 23 stone, which, well, doesn't really give her much chance.
Julia is exhausted, but just how badly was she beaten? After the break on Cover Story, the 2 women clash again. This time, there are no rules.
I'm going to be meeting her again pretty soon, not for a championship, but for a hardcore, which is my cup of tea.
But is hardcore wrestling a step too far? And what impact does the blood and the violence have on young minds? Sweet Saraya's world title bout in Norwich against Klondike Kate ended in a dramatic defeat.
I think disappointed is probably, I don't think it's a strong enough word. I think devastated is more the word. I mean, usually I'm a really bubbly, outgoing, you know, full of smart aleck, questions, answers, whatever. You know, I'm usually so full of it, and I just haven't been able to pick myself up since Saturday night. Like, the cut is the worst thing. I'll just show you the cut anyway. I don't know if you see it that clearly. It's not as bad now as it was, because like it's not too open, but it's like from about there to here, and it's like open. It's more cut down one side than it is the other. But I can't even brush my hair at the moment. My head like hurts so much. It's I didn't think I'd feel like this after running with Klondike Kate.
She's never had it easy in this business, and everything she's got, she's worked hard for. So most of all, I feel pride and a little bit of anguish that she might one day get a serious injury, because she's had a lot of injuries over the years. I'm always afraid that one will come where it's going to be very serious.
There's no denying that even the most carefully worked out moves involve shock and impact. But how real is the hurt? How real is the risk of injury?
The participants stand a good chance of injuring themselves, both in the short term from the falls that you see them taking there, and also in the longer term from the more subtle effects of brain damage. When the head is accelerated or decelerated, i.e. when it's either hit or it strikes the floor, the brain inside is moved, and that can damage some of the blood vessels in the brain, which leads to long-term problems. And it would be a shame to think of that lady there with Parkinson's or dementia in later life as a result of this.
Women wrestlers are taking risks, possibly more risks than men. Sweet Saraya may be fit and strong, but it's Julia who has to live with the after effects of her fights.
So many women that started wrestling that don't last very long because they think there's nothing to it.
I've been blinded.
Trapped nerves.
I've broken fingers.
Broken ankles.
Dislocations.
Sprained wrists.
Concussions.
Broken leg.
Cut my head open.
Broken arm.
I'm probably one of the most injured wrestlers in the whole of the country, if not the world.
It's the love of being involved in wrestling. Once you've got it in your blood, you just can't get it out.
Unless I was actually either put in a wheelchair or anything, that's the only reason I'd give up wrestling, if my body gave out before I did.
Julia's two young children often watch their mother in the ring. They're used to it now, but they still worry about her.
She's had so many injuries. She's been blinded and she's broke her finger all the way up to her elbow.
Big finger.
I worry about her a lot. When she was blinded, I used to look after her. I used to take her to the toilet and everything. Obviously, I didn't stay in there with her, but I used to take her. I used to take her to the bath, and my sister used to help bath my mum.
If she gets another knock to the head, then she might lose her sight forever. I don't want that to happen.
Although Julia's children know she can get hurt, they do understand that many of her clashes are not as bad as they look. But do other children in the audience understand that that's the case?
I think first they don't hit, but after some time I think they do.
It must hurt badly when they get chucked out of the ring.
Well, I know they're sort of not really hurting each other, but it's going to hurt a bit.
You can see that the younger children are very unsure about whether what they're seeing is real. They hope that it's fantasy. They see it partly as a game, but they are obviously a little bit disturbed in some situations. They follow the wrestler in the hope, I think, that they will see the wrestler stand up and walk and appear to be normal. So they need a lot of reassurance in that situation that, in fact, what they're seeing is not real.
Kids today are used to seeing blood and aggression. I mean, the American TVs, there's always blood, there's, high-risk manoeuvres, there's that sort of thing. And they're actually disappointed if they don't see it.
You can't tell with the individual child how it's going to affect them, how much they feel that it's legitimising violence that they themselves can participate in later on.
We had a little bit of trouble with these two. He was fighting one night with each other, and both of them were. Next minute, he's pulled his arm out, so we abandoned for a month.
A study by Television Watchdog suggests there is a danger of children mimicking what they see.
It was very much boys who talked about practising the moves on each other, and they did report a few minor playground incidents because of this.
Everyone's got their favourites. It's like Superman. People copy Superman, but it doesn't mean you're going to jump off a building.
Wrestling matches between men and women are also growing in popularity in this country. In most cases, the male wrestler is dominant.
Now, is this saying to young adolescents, for example, that it's appropriate for men to assert not just power over women, but assert that power physically, and it is a exciting or a titillating thing?
Big Daddy style wrestling no longer draws the crowds.
Old-fashioned English wrestling of 6 5-minute rounds is people don't want to see that anymore. They want to see what they can see on the WWF or WCW or in America. So we just try to do matches that people would like to see the English people do, and we do hardcore matches, bra and panties matches, championship matches. We just try different types of contests.
Only a week after Klondike Kate conquered Sweet Saraya, they meet again. This time in Ipswich. This time the fight is hardcore.
Hardcore wrestling is where there's no rules, no regulations. There's you can use implements, bins, trays, brushes, anything. You can actually grab things out the crowd. If someone's got drinking a can of Coke, you're actually legal to take it off them and hit your opponent with them. Hardcore it gets my adrenaline rushing, but it's a different sort of rush and I love it. I really love it.
I don't think it does a sport any good to see ladies hitting each other head with tables and chairs and dustbins and things like that. But then again, if that's what, you know, Julia's getting good money to do it and she wants to do it, then who am I to stand in the way?
When I come out of that ring and I'm cut to bits and my head feels like the Himalayas and my back hurts and I've got welts and big red marks all over my body, other people look at me and they think, oh, you're one mad cow.
This time, Sweet Saraya tastes sweet victory.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee decision, the winner, the Sweet Saraya!
As the adrenaline and Sweet Saraya fade, Julia reflects on the fact that she is facing weeks on the road without her family.
I've just been up there and spoken to him and everything, and it's just, do you know what I mean? You don't realise how much you miss them. Do you know what I mean? I spoke to my daughter and my son, and it's like, you know, I know that do you know what I mean? I love this job. I really love this job, but it really, anyone that's a mum will understand that. You know, you hear your kids and, you know, they're telling me, like, love your mummy and miss your mummy and like Ricky saying, like, I really miss you, darling. It just, you know, and I've got to turn around and travel and go right down the other end of the country and be further away from them than I am right now, you know. And it's just a horrible, it's just an emptiness that I feel. For the first time in 12 years, I actually feel really alone. I feel really alone, and it's really knocked me for six, you know. I'm a family person at heart, and Sweet Saraya is just an image, and underneath it all, I'm just normal, everyday Julia, and I'm a mum, you know. And I really, really miss my kids. I really do. My children come first, you know. More before anything in this world, my children come first. So, you know, at the end of the day, I suppose I would give up wrestling, but it'd be like losing a part of me. I could never lose Sweet Saraya. You know, now I'm Julia, but Sweet Saraya has become such a big part of me. I'd feel as if I had a death in the family if I lost her.
Happiness, more or less, it's just a change in me, something in my liberty. On my mind. Happiness coming and going. I watch you look at me, watch my fever growing. I know